And I'm absolutely delighted that the State Secretary of the same ministry, of this time it's the Ministry for Enterprise and Innovation in Sweden, so you're working directly for the Senior Minister. And again, that's the department in Sweden that is responsible for driving forward the whole activity of the future of manufacturing. In Sweden, you call it production or Produktion 2030, I believe. But I'd love to invite Eva Lindström to come and tell us yourself as to your activities. Thank you very much, Eva.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation, and I think this conference and the Catapult hosting is very, very inspiring to me. And these are indeed interesting times to manage industrial policy with the sweeping changes and demands brought about by digitalization and the transformation to a sustainable low-carbon society. And definitely, smart industry and industry has a key role for growth, jobs, and competitiveness. And I should say that Sweden is a highly servicified country. Just in the UK, half of the employees in Swedish manufacturing are actually in services occupations. But we cannot just develop and service products. In the long run, we also need to manufacture them. If you separate research and services from manufacturing, it might work for a while or in a specific setting, but over the time it will be detrimental to business. And against this background, in 2016, the Swedish government adopted a smart industry strategy, very much inspired by German, of course, but also what you've been doing in the UK. And our vision is to make Sweden a world leader in innovative and sustainable industrial production of goods and services. This strategy is anchored in the twin challenges of digitalization and sustainability and the need to take advantage of the opportunities that these two things bring. We do face a threat of climate change, and I think it's appropriate also to remind us that 2016 was the warmest year on Earth since records began. And digitalization can be a tremendously powerful tool to fight climate change. So let me share just one illustrating example. Mobilaris, that's a small Swedish digital service enterprise. They teamed up not long ago with two Swedish mining companies, LKAB and Boliden, to improve worker security. An innovative positioning system for employees and equipment was developed. But unlike ordinary Wi-Fi or positioning systems, it also worked below ground. And it was now possible to track digitally where all employees were at all times. As you might understand, this information is vital in case of an accident. However, this information could also make the ventilation system much smarter. The ventilation system was automatically turned on in areas where people and turned off elsewhere. And through these digital tracking systems, one of these big mining companies, Boliden, they could cut their energy needs by more than half. And you may appreciate the importance of this when I tell you that venting mines represent as much as 1% of total electricity consumption in Sweden. So what is the government's role in all this? In my view, it is to facilitate and support the structural transition with respect to the small and medium-sized companies and, of course, the citizens. The fourth revolution may be here, but many of the companies and organizations has not yet mastered the third industrial revolutions, that is electronics, ICT, and automated production. And many small and medium-sized companies have not yet begun their journey towards digitized production systems. They struggled very hard with their day-to-day demands, and often they cannot find time to upgrade and transform their business model. and I think the government has a role to play to speed up and to facilitate their transformation. And of course, as for citizens, rapid change entails a risk that some or many individuals feel excluded, or they worry about their inclusion in society. However, as the Swedish road to growth and inclusive societies lies not in protecting old business models, but in including more of society in the new possibilities. Hence, I think it's urgent for us policymakers to do all what we can to prepare for new jobs, tasks, and technologies. Our motto should be described as protect people, not protecting specific old jobs. So, how do we seek to address these challenges? Well, the Swedish Smart Industry strategy is really based on 4 pillars. And we are now working on our second action plan, 80 measures, large and small, to implement this strategy. And these measures are all connected to the 4 pillars. Again, inspired by German, we choose to call the focus area of digitalizing industry, Industry 4.0. The other transition needed for long-term competitiveness is the one towards sustainable production, the second focus area. Of course, crucial for development of industry is the access to the right skills as well as research and innovation, and hence the areas that we call upskilling manufacturing and testbed Sweden. But today I would like to focus on the third pillar, the upskilling challenge and the managing that transformation. This picture shows truck company Scania's newest factory in Sweden. All robots and no people. Is this the industry of the future, one might ask myself? So there has been a lot of studies published, and I think maybe the best known might be what Frey and Osbert wrote in 2013, where there's an indication that as much as 50% of all current professions are liable to be automated in 10 or 20 years. However, their method has been questioned on several grounds. For example, what they do is that they look on professions rather than at tasks, and thereby probably overestimating possibilities of automation. More recent studies, for example, from the OECD, take into account that each profession consists of a variety of tasks, and these tasks are to varying degrees liable to automation. And with this method, when it comes to Sweden, only about 7% of all jobs are considered possible to be wholly automated. Having said that, at the same time, these studies show that almost all profession and all jobs will, to small or large degree, change. And this puts, of course, huge pressure on us all to learn and to relearn and to unlearn. And I think it's up to the industry itself to go through the digital transformation and adjust to a more sustainable production, finding and exploiting their business cases. But there is, of course, an important role for the government to play when it comes to the supply of skills and tackling the consequences of structural change. Whichever prediction of the future of work will turn out to hold true, whether it's 50% or 7% of the jobs will be lost to automation, and whether more jobs will be created or not, we can be sure that the digital transition will put a very hard strain on society. I think you could say that Sweden has a quite strong record in adjusting to structural change with coordinated policy actions. We have done it before, and I think we could do it again. But of course, we must try new ways. We have to experiment, we have to be brave, and we definitely have to learn from others. And this time around, we believe that education and lifelong learning and daily learning possibilities are at the core. And I would just like to share a few more specific challenges and how we have started to go about the upskilling issue. Firstly, digitalization creates completely new skills needed, and this requires changes in the curriculum in schools. And for example, we are now introducing programming as a mandatory part of the teaching in mathematics and science in school. Secondly, skills needs are changing very, very fast. So people already in the workforce need to get better opportunities for lifelong learning or reskilling. And we need to rethink, I think, the Swedish education system in very many ways. We have to create initiatives for individuals to return to the education institutions throughout their working life. And the companies must also have incentives to let their staff do so. And also the university also must have incentives to letting in new groups into their classrooms. So we are now sizing up our higher vocational education, and this type of education is set up to be agile in order to be able to respond quickly to the changing needs of the labor market. Employers and industry representatives play a significant role in the planning and the content of these programs. The Swedish university sector and the higher vocational education system, I don't think they're really set up to admit people really in the workforce. The courses and programs are not today really suitable to their needs, neither in form nor substance. And we are now making a few regulatory changes that we hope will render them more open to people that need the combined education and work. And we have also appointed an investigation to look into how universities can be better equipped to meet the needs of this target group. Of course, there's also responsibility at the company level, and we have initiated a small-scale pilot program to help industrial SMEs to devise a strategy for their skills needs today and in the future. And part of the work is to really identify what skills they already have in the workforce by formalizing informal competences. Thirdly, I think we're also facing a short-term challenge, the labor shortage here and now. In Sweden, industry is really in a boom, and labor needs are growing, and companies struggle to find the right competences. And at the same time, we have had an influx of migrants. About 100,000 people must enter the labor market in the coming 2 years. So part of the solution to the urgent shortage is to make better use of the competences that have now arrived. And we are supporting an initiative that matches companies and newcomers for a 4-month internship. The skills needs of the company are at center stage. And the initiative is focused on newcomers with at least bachelor's degree in engineering, science, architecture, or business. And during the trial period, results showed that 75% of the interns were hired in the end. So to recap, 3 challenges so far: new skills needed, fast-changing skills needs, and current labor shortage. Finally, I would like to address the challenge of industry's image. A person who works very passionately with these issues told me that if he could change only one thing, it would be the road sign for industrial area. It is really outdated in reality, but I'm sorry to say, not in people's minds. I think we need more people to take an interest in technology and science and to choose a career in industry. Young people, especially girls, tend to be less attracted to these careers. This might partly be due to lack of role models. In Sweden, men are overrepresented in technology-intensive occupations. Only about 1/5 is women. It might also be because of an obsolete image of what it means to work in the industry. The important role of industry and industrial innovation is really addressing the challenges of our time, and that is not widely understood. We must make it more known that industry is really a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And I think to do this, we have to strengthen the connection between our education system on one hand and the industry at the other hand. These pictures come from a local project in Sweden. They charter a bus and invite secondary school girls to visit local industry companies, and there they meet inspiring women who work there. The young people are encouraged to discuss views of tech jobs before and after the visit, and this project helps change the image of industry in the target group, taking it from the road sign to virtual reality glasses. And I also think that we need to look broader than the specific people that industry needs to attract. We must also look at the families. Parents, and perhaps mothers especially, play a key role when children, young people choose their education. And if they don't see industry as the future, how will they advise their children? I think we have perhaps a bigger challenge here. At the same time, this is our main and shared challenge. As you all know, all the countries in the world have united behind the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030. And this picture shows the Swedish government and the Swedish ministers holding the goals which apply to their portfolio. And my minister, Mikael Damberg, is at the top left, holding goal number 9, Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure. So responsible, well-designed industrial policies must play a part in implementing the goals. We estimate, for example, that our industrial policy action plan can contribute to 9 goals out of 17 if well implemented. And the agenda says that development is not sustainable if it does not accommodate all 3 dimensions: economic, environmental, and not least social sustainability. If there's one thing we know is that the booming economy, like Sweden at the moment, will not last forever. And history tells us that fast technological development has the potential to widen inequalities in society dramatically. We should therefore prepare for a coming recession in a way that prioritizes social cohesion. For example, we are now reviewing our system for short-time work. The system in Sweden allows for temporary reduction in working time during periods of temporary economic downturn, but it has never been used in Sweden, and it is probably not really functional. A lot of jobs in Swedish industry were lost during the 2009 recession, some of which might have been retained if system had been a bit better designed. And if we get a better system where maybe some of the reduced working time can be used for education and raising skills, I think we can use the recession or look at the recession not just as a threat, but maybe also as a possibility. And I know that other European countries have succeeded better than this, and we have definitely to learn from them. So let me end up by saying I think this conference is a great opportunity to learn from each other and also to inspire us to keep on experimenting. And thank you very, very much for organizing it, and thank you very much for your attention.